वंशी विभूषितकरान्नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरादरुणबिम्बफलाधरोष्ठात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने. Welcome to the scripture class, and as you listen the Mangalacharan, the first opening verse, remembering Krishna, the beautiful Krishna in yellow robes with lotus-eyed and having the beautiful face like moon. And I know that Krishna, and I don't know any other higher truth than that. I don't need any other when I see this Krishna, when I think of this Krishna. So says the sadhaka, a great saint. With this remembering Krishna and paying our respect to the Krishna whose message is the Bhagavad Gita, this Uddhava Gita, we begin the Uddhava Gita class after a long time, after summer vacation, first time. Before summer vacation ended, we were discussing about the 24 gurus of Avadhuta, the Brahmana. And he was talking with Yadu, the ancestor of Krishna, and Krishna is telling this story to Uddhava, how this Yadu and Avadhuta were talking about attaining the knowledge, how he attained knowledge, how guru is needed, how he had the gurus other than human beings, 24 different animals, birds, and natural things, fire, water, earth, like that. Everything was, he got spiritual education from everyone. He was so open minded to learn spirituality, and he found spiritual message from everything. So he regarded them as his guru, because he got enlightenment after observing their life, their very basis, by observing fire, by observing earth. He just got message from them how one has to be, one has to accept the things like the earth and have the patience like the earth, and one should not be like fluid like the fire, but one should consume all the desires like the fire. Like that, he always interpreted from the natural things. So in the last class that I did from, I think from Connecticut, we're talking about the Pingala, the courtesan, how Pingala, the courtesan, got enlightenment through disappointment, through her misery, because she didn't get the clients that day, and she was very sad. But suddenly the inner eye opened in her, and she found out that all problems of her life, of all anxiety and all those things, was her desires, expectation. And she realized that if I give up all my worldly desire and devote myself to God, who is the self in me, then I don't have to worry for anything, and I get the bliss of this human life. That's what that Pingala learned. His change in her attitude came from that event, and that somehow this Avadhuta could know, must have spoken with her. She must be a wise person, and must have asked, talked with her, how she got this vairagya or this passion from the world, how she became so happy, because she had attained this passion through failure in her trade. So, but that led her to bliss, and she was so pleased to God for making her fail, making her unsuccessful in her trade. So that led her to the bliss of love of God. That's what this Pingala said. Let me read of some of this Pingala saying. Verse 37. Nunam me Bhagavan Prito Vishnu kenapi karmana nirvedoyam durashaya yanme jata sukhavaha. Surely I have pleased the Lord Vishnu by some deed or other, since out of a vain expectation this happy disgust has come to me. This disgust for her own trade, her own work has come to me, and this is happy disgust. And she says that I must have praised Lord Vishnu. I must have pleased Lord Vishnu. That's why I got this opportunity to be disgusted from my own earning money. And now I can direct my attention to Lord Himself. There is a 180-degree turn in her life because of not because of having failure in her business, in her expectation. So that she took so positively, and she was filled with the peace. Tenopakritamādaya, in verse 38, Maivam Syur Mandabhagyaya Klesha Nirveda Hetava Enanu Bandham Nirritya Purusha Samamrichati. Otherwise, unhappy that I am, these miseries would not have fallen to my lot, bringing on disgust, by means of which man getting rid of trammels attains to peace. So Vairagya comes. Getting rid of trammels means the property, those real estate and movable and immovable property is called trammels. So people often are engaged in possessing the things, and here she says all these are cause of all miseries. So not possessing anything, I am now in the path of blissfulness. So तेनोपकृतमादाय शिरसा ग्राम्य संगताः त्यक्त्वा निराशा शरणं व्रजामि तमधीश्वरम्. Accepting this gift of the Lord on my head, I give up my vain expectation that pertain only to sense objects and take refuge in the Supreme Lord. So, reverentially, she accepts Lord's this plan on her, and she gives up all her expectation and now has found the path of joy. Santusta Shraddhadhattetat Yatha Labhena Jivati Viharamya Munaivaham Atmana Ramanena Vai. Putting my faith in this gift of the Lord, that is, gift of the Lord is here, not having the thing. I shall leave content on what comes to me and shall enjoy the company of the lover, that is Atman. And Atman is God Himself. She has that idea. Such a person whose life was not that great was living on selling her body, and that person was became so wise because of circumstances and could understand that is all is the grace of God. So people who can look into deeply into the situation and can make any difficult times into a good time. Sometimes there are so many things happen to in our life, so many things that we do not want but happen. If we want to see it in a positive way, there are many ways we can see. Suppose, for example, take losing job is one. When we lose job, we are worried for the money, how it will come, and when will I get job. Instead of getting worried, as they say, you can improve your skill. You have the free time to read something extra. You have free time to do more of your spiritual practice, or or like that thing. Even losing job, and you have government supports you, one day you will get job. Why to get worried? Losing job is not something that has gone everything bad. There is something good it can have. Even such thing as great bereavement, great separation, that can also be seen something good in that. There is something positive side. We have to look to the positive side of it. So some you see bereavement. Someone was there of the two persons. One person just passes away by the natural law. One has to die before the other. Now one is just to cry and think, oh, I have become now alone. Nobody is there with me. My husband has died or my wife has died. Oh, life is so boring now. I have to do everything. I have become lonely now. One is that way. Another way to look upon it is I have now time. I can do my things as I like. I can read the things. I don't have to share my time with my spouse. That way I can do more spiritual practice. I can read the things, I can learn music, I can do sing, read scriptures. There's so many things one can do. People can make their time very useful when they are alone. Being alone is not vain, it is somehow, it may be very profitable when we are alone. And people often um, go for lonely places just to stay there alone. You must have heard of Vipassana, one their practices there of Vipassana. And people go there for 10 days, and when they are totally alone, they live in a group, but they are not allowed to talk with anyone, not to look at the eyes of anyone, not to have any interaction through words or through visual, through seeing, sight. Just they remain with themselves and focus upon themselves alone. And after 10 days, when they come, they can't speak, they can't use phone, they can't use any book, no book reading even. So difficult being with oneself, very lonely if you think that way. But it's so rewarding. People who come after 10 days, they say it was so fantastic and peace generating thing. We are, our senses are so much outgoing, we often don't have no time and opportunity to be with ourselves. And ourself is the best friend of ours. That is the real joy. The real joy is in our own self, and people don't realize. So that way, this woman has the insight. Must be some good work of the past. So she took that, her all failures in her business as the grace of God, and says no expectation, nothing knowing. Then the question comes: how will we eat if we don't work? What happens is, all eating, these are all mental thing. Somehow you see so many people are there in the world, and you see if in India. People become, give up home and hearth and all that. Or do they die of famish? They just roam around like a sannyasin. People become a monk. They leave everything God provides to them. If you are able to connect yourself to God, God will provide everything to you. If you are not able to connect to God and yet do not work anything for your survival, then you are a beggar. Then God will not provide. Then you will have to search your own life requirements like money, and you go from place to place and begging the things. That is a very limited life. That is not a happy life. But if one could connect with God, then God says, if you love me really and connect with me, I will provide you everything to you. Yoga Kshemam Bahamyam. So that has been seen in the life of so many monks and saints. This happens. So even not having anything, the person can survive, and survive very joyfully. Here we have job. We are a family, one person suddenly passed away by disease or old age, and then another become alone. But that time can be utilized very nicely in spiritual practice. I've heard many people saying, those who have become single after the husband or wife passed away, they say, I have no time, I'm very busy. That keeping themselves busy, in busyness, in keeping oneself busy, one major portion of your time should be your spiritual practice. Repeating God's name, meditating on God, reading scriptures. That should be the main one thing that should make your portion, good chunk of your time should be in that. You are connected to God. You will find so much joy in life, and all your bereavement of losing your life partner with whom you had like 50 years, that also can be managed so well, and managed with the positivity. Just you have to be positive instead of complaining, instead of only saying, oh, I miss him, I miss him, I miss her, I miss her. Instead of saying that, if we can be positive. Such was this Pingala, this woman who had not a great lifestyle. It was not desirable lifestyle, but she could, in her bad times, could turn to God and find that all spiritual knowledge she had. And Avadhuta says what this lady had to say. Very highly spiritual wisdom she is saying, and turned her life totally to become a spiritual person. So this thing, that Avadhuta was very much impressed with this, with the wisdom of this woman. संतुष्टा श्रद्धधत्तेतत् अद्यथा लाभेन जीवति विहराम्य मुने वाहम आत्मना रमणेन वै. Putting my faith in this gift of the Lord. What is the gift of the Lord? That my all worldly things are taken away, and my mind has been turned towards him, this gift of the Lord. So because the things of the world are taken away, mind could go towards Lord. So she takes up that removal of her job, of her work, of her earning as the gift of God. Very negative thing for others, it becomes very positive to this lady, to this woman. I shall leave content on what comes to me. You see, Yadricha lava santusto dvandva atito vimatsara, as Sri Krishna had said in the Gita. Now it's the Uddhava Gita. Sri Krishna finds that his ancestor Yadu is talking with Avadhuta and is saying the same thing what he taught to Arjuna earlier in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Yadricha lava santusto. Like that, here is I shall leave content on what comes to me, says this Pingala, is the words of Pingala, the courtesan woman, and shall enjoy the company of that lover, the Atman, the self, the Vishnu, the God. So, whatever is there in me, I shall enjoy the company of that beloved. So, this is how great wisdom this woman has, and how this wisdom is coming because of despondency, because of problem in life can be made into that gift. Samsara koope patitam vishayer mushitakshanam grastam kala hinatmanam kunnastrat tumadhishvara. Who else can save the jiva fallen into the pit of transmigration, robbed by the robbed of his vision by the senses, and swallowed up by the serpent of time? She compares with all that's our transmigratory existence, and that we are fallen in the pit of transmigration. It's a pit, there's no way to come out. All from one birth to another birth to another birth. All this is a pit, we are bound in that. Already giving one life, getting another life, then giving that life, getting another life. It's all going on. And robbed of his vision by the senses, cannot see the reality, cannot turn our inside, not looking to the Atman, only seeing outside the world. And that is also is done. And swallowed up by the serpent of time. As serpent swallows of all small animals, like that, time swallows of ourselves. Everything ends in time. Everything ends in time. Time is like a big serpent. It is slowly eating whatever we see in the world. It is all eating up. And the God is creating. And serpent, the time serpent is eating up. That's why it is called Kala. Kala means time. And time in everything goes in Kala. Uh, the time, everything will vanish. Whatever we see will vanish in time. All is as if the serpent, the time, is swallowing up whatever is seen. Uh, आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो गोप्ता निर्विद्येत यदा किलात् अप्रमत्त इदं पश्येत् grastam kala hina jagat. When one beholds this universe swallowed up by the serpent of time, becomes watchful and turns oneself away from everything, then the self alone is the savior of oneself. How this woman turned to the knowledge of the self and focused on the self. What is said is in the Upanishad, it is said, Paranchi khani vitrinat swayambhu tasmat parang pasyati nantaratman. God created this sense outgoing. That's why people see only outside, only external world. They don't look at themselves. They don't want to find their own soul, one's own self, but they go on seeking the world because senses have been made that way outgoing. Then how to find the self? Kaschid dhira pratyagatmanamikchan avritta chakshu amritattvamichan. Some wise persons desirous of immortality. That's why they are wise. They turn their senses inwards to find the self. That is the condition of Pingala, says this Avadhuta. This I learned from Pingala. How did this passion, how this giving up of the worldly things and totally resigning to the will of the Lord, it makes one so happy and peaceful. He must have seen, he must have heard this from Pingala, this her story, and saw her very in a state of very blissful state, and then he could say that how even a person of so lowly means they can become so highly wise person. Now, Brahmana says, Brahmana Uvata, the Brahmana is Avadhuta. Evam Vyavasitam, Evam Vyavasitamatir Durasham Kantatarsajam, Chittopasamamasthaya Sayyam Upavishesasa. That lady now sits on the, after having that thought, she sits on her bed, resigning herself to the Lord, to the Atman. You see how this Lord and Atman are interchanged in that thing. That Lord resides in ourself. Our self, true self, is God Himself, whom we worship outside. How this Dvaita and Advaita in the Bhagavatam is considered to be an scripture of lot of worship of God, love of Krishna, like a Dvaita Shastra. But so much of Advaitic message are there. This Pingala then resigns herself to the Atman, which is the seat of the Lord, like that, both, whoever like that. Um, that she says, and then she resigns to the Lord and finds the path to spiritual progress. Asha hi paramam dukkham nairashyam paramam sukham yatha sanchidya kantasam sukham suswapa pingala. Expectation is surely the greatest misery, and the giving up of all expectation is the greatest bliss. As Pingala slept happily, getting rid of the hankering for the people. So her all hankering is gone, and she slept very happily. How did she sleep? Nairashyam paramam sukham. No desire, whatever, when expectation are there, so that creates problem. No worldly expectation. So how we live without expectation? We should not have any expectation. We need to have expectation. We want to progress spiritually. We want to do good to people, something good, whatever good we can do. We want to be detached, all that is expectation. We want to evolve spiritually, all that is expectation. What is called nairasya is nothing desiring from the world to make us happy and blissful. The world has no power to make us happy. It will not fulfill our cherished wishes, or all deep rooted cherished wishes to be happy, peaceful, blissful, fulfilled. All is already within us. So when we remove all our expectation from the world and look to our own self, who is full, who is complete, who is Purnamidam. This Purnamidam, when we look to this Purnam, then that is called Nairashyam. Nirasa is not something negative. Nairashyam here, scriptural word is you have conquered expecting the fulfillment from the world. World cannot fulfill your desires. The world cannot make you free. World cannot make you blissful. So that when we understand that, that is called Nairasya. Then that Nairasya is Paramam Sukham. And when we have asha, oh, I will get this from this thing, I want to achieve this from that thing, he will behave this thing that well to me, I will get all love from that person. So that when my child will become big, he will look after me when I am old. This all asha, and all asha is paramam dukkham. Not only simple dukkham, supreme misery. Ultimate misery is asha, expectation, desires. That what he learned from this Avadhuta, learned from the life of this Pingala, the quotation. Yatha sanchidda kantasam sukham suswapa Pingala. As she did, because she conquered all her asha and attained that nairasya, attained that detachment from all expectation from the world, and she could sleep well that night, says this Brahmana. Now, next, what it is said, there are few more teachers left. Uh, Madhuha Harino Meena, verse 34. Madhuha Harino Meena Pingala Kuraror Bhakaha Kumari Sharakrit Sarpa Urnanabi Supe Sakrit. Now this all happened, Pingala done. Now comes Kurara, then Arbhakaha. Kurara means a kind of bird which catches fish, like a kite, or you can say that gets the fish. That's osprey, uh, the which catches fish or flesh. That is called Kurara. Then Brahmana says, Parigraho hi dukkhaya yadyat priyatamam nrinam anantam sukham apnoti yad Vidwan yastu kinchana. The Brahmana said, the acquisition of anything whatsoever that men hold as dearest leads to misery. But he who knows this and gives up all possession attains to endless bliss. This acquisition, always wanting to acquire, to become rich, to have one house in Toronto, no, some I want to have another house in Florida. When I winter, I will go there. And New York's a big city. I got a lot of money. How to get money and have a house in New York? Then after that, what happens? After that, you cannot maintain. Then the problem: how to sell those house? How to sell those house? Now you have to find the client and all those things. So possession never gives you joy. So little whatever is needed to make your head go under a roof. That's what we call in vernacular that a shade over your head we need. That's called a room, your house, small house, that is enough for you. And nothing desiring more than that. So that way is the best, not possessing the things. There is no end otherwise of this thing. This aparigraha or not possessing is very much emphasized in Jaina Dharma. One of the five jewels of Jainism is aparigraha. Aparigraha is not possessing things. Minimum whatever is required, have those, but don't accumulate, don't acquire, because those are the source of misery. Acquisition is source of the misery. Live simple life, that much is required. So that's how it is here it says, the Brahmana says that this misery, but he who knows this and gives up all possession attains to endless bliss. All possession gives up. So for householder, how can he give up all possession? Even monk has to have some kamandalu, something they have to have. Even your Digambar, they also have one kamandalu to drink water, isn't it? They have one fan. The Digambar Jains, they carry fan. You know why fan? Not to fan themselves, but to clean the ground before sitting there. Why? Because they believe in non-violence, not hurting anyone, not hurting any creature even, not hurting with word, with thought, with action. So if there is some creature there, ant or some small worm or insect, and they sit there and it dies, so it is sacrilegious. So they have to first fan that, they remove that with the fan, remove that, and then it's like a small feather fan, and this try to, and there they will sit on the ground. So that much of not injuring anyone. So that they carry, even those. So otherwise they don't have much possession. So something we need possession, but little minimum possession that we have. The householders will have to have, they have to maintain their family, they have to maintain their life, but we can minimize how much I really need and how much is the greed I just want to accumulate. The less we accumulate the thing, more is joy. There's no doubt about that. The more things we have, now where to keep, how to maintain, how to brush, how to dust, all those things come, and things go on being accumulated. Not only we accumulate the things like shoes or clothes or jacket or so many things, we go on accumulating, comes after one after another. Whole nice jacket was there 2 years old, it is not torn. You go to some the shop, H&M or some other shop, and you find nice jacket. Oh, this color is very nice, but whatever your jacket, it's still new. You wear only a few months in the year, it lasts so long, and you go and buy that. Now your wardrobe is full of jackets of which few only you use. Generally, what you are using, you are used to that. So like that, and thing goes, and now wardrobe is full. There's no other thing to keep there. So like that, shoes goes on increasing in number. Not only these things for of use, even gods go on increasing in our altar, in our shrine. We have some god we keep. Then you go to Puri, nice image of Jagannath, Subhadra. Keep and clean. Then I go to Mathura. Wow, what a beautiful Krishna. I have to buy this. Vishwanath, oh, Shankara, meditating. Now this becomes increasing. Now whom to worship, whom to meditate, where to keep. There's no place. All gods have now find very limited place. Population of God in different forms increasing. Like the population of countries increasing, like that, God's population increasing. Because of our nature of acquiring. And our shrine, then instead of becoming the shrine, it becomes a museum. Which got this I got from Puri, that I went to Rameshwaram, that I went when I went to Kedarnath, that I went. All you have to, whenever anyone comes, that you just say about that thing, your glory of your thing. Now museum, as a museum, when a person goes to museum, there is a guide. This is from there, this century. Like that, you have even the gods are so many. That's why acquiring thing gives problem. So here it says less acquisition. Don't go pranam, do prarthana, fill your heart with the thing, not the external. Our Vireswaran used to say, don't make your shrine museum. Don't bring idols from every place as a memento. And just do pranam and bring it all in your memory. God will be there. One deity, one Ishta that you worship, keep that nicely. Others keep in the heart. So that way it will not increase. So acquisition can be in many things. It is the nature of the person acquiring the things. So the less thing we have, the more happier we are. It says that way. Now, after saying this sloka of this wisdom, now it says gives the example. Samisham kuraram jadnur balino e niramishaha tadamisham parityajya sasukham samavindata. An osprey with a piece of flesh was tormented by others, stronger than itself, that had no flesh. It gave that flesh up and became happy. This story is in the gospel also. One bird got, kite got one fish, and suddenly all crows ran behind that kite. Wherever that kite goes, crows, a flock of crows always following. It has no peace to eat. Finally, what he did, he was so tormented by this all group. Just to get peace back, he just gave up that fish on the ground. All crows then flew towards fish. Now he was at peace. Nothing was there. So this possession can create a problem. That it says it got that learning from the osprey, the flesh catching bird. So that's what it says. Ah. न मे मानावमानोस्तो न चिंता गेह पुत्रिणाम आत्मक्रीड़ा आत्मरतिर vichara balawat. After saying this about the osprey in one verse, now he goes to another thing. Arbhaka. Arbhaka means, Dr. Please sit down. Arbhaka means child. Now he compares child as very happy person. Child has no problem. Why child has no problem? Name mana vamanosto na chinta geha putrinam. He says about himself, I have no mana and avamana. I am not worried for respect, honor, or dishonor, insult. I am not worried for that. Anybody can do anything to me, but I am not affected by anything. Name mana vamanosto na chinta geha putrinam. Because I do not have the family, and I do not have a house. Don't have a own house. That's why I don't have worries of uh, family and house. So I'm free from that. He says about the Avaduta is that he's a monk. So I have no problem with the possession. I do not possess anything, and I do not even accept any honor or insult. Those both are equal to me. He said that. And what I am? Atma Krida, Atma Ratir, Vichara Mihavalavat. I am Atma Krida. Do you, are you happy having nothing? Yes. How are you happy? I play with Whom you play with? You are always roaming alone. I play with myself. Atma Krida. I have wonderful friend, and that is myself. I'm happy with myself. I think of true self, which is full of bliss, which is Satchidananda Swarupa. That is always with me. That is my nature. I am always with that. That's why I am always happy. And Atma Rati. I sport with the self and take pleasure in the self. Atmanati, always engrossed in the self. That beautiful verse, five verses are there. Kopina Panchakam, they call Kopina Panchakam Shankaracharya. In that he says about the monk's life, who doesn't own anything, who just moves along, and he's always in the bliss of the Brahman. Ahar Nisham Brahma Sukhe Ramant. Day and night he is in the happiness always. In what? How? What makes you happy? In Brahman. Where is that Brahman? My own self is that Brahman. Brahman is the very nature of the self. But here also he says, I am very happy. Then he says, Balavat, like a child. Child is like that. He also doesn't have to worry for anything. He doesn't own anything. He is not worried for mana and apamana, who praises or doesn't praise. If you scold the child, it will little cry. That's all. When he starts understanding. Even before that, he may not even understand what is scolding and what is not scolding. After it grows matures a little, then face, then he can, maybe can understand even the face. So then so he start crying. So that comes, and he smile and say, then he smiles. Like that starts coming to us. We desire that good attitude, good behavior, and we shun negative behavior. So that thing comes to us. But real child, Arbaka, Balavat, it doesn't have any worries, anxieties, because it is always looked after by its mother, its parents. So it doesn't have any worry. So that's how this Brahmana, this Avadhuta is also like that child. I don't worry for anything. There is my mother is there to look after. Who is that mother? Mother Nature, Mother Divine Mother. That is there to look after this body. And I am the self. What do I worry for anything? Whether this body will survive or not. It is Divine Mother's body. She will take care how much it will survive, how much it will remain healthy. That is her department. Let her take. I am happy with my true self. That type of idea. Not worried for anything, not even for the body. So that he said, I roam in the world, Atma Krida, Atma Rati, like sporting with myself and in the present relationship with myself, my true self, I live like a child. That's how he got from the child, what he learns from the child, to be carefree, not to worry for anything. When you don't worry for anything, then God takes your care. That beautiful story in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. One person was thinking of God and was so much engrossed in the thought of God, repeating God's name, was not aware where he's walking and what he's doing, what are around. Only he was thinking of God and was very happy. While walking, he came to a river. On the bank of the river, there were many washermen, and they had just washed the clothes and had spread on the ground to dry. And then this person was fully thinking of Vishnu, this devotee of Vishnu. Then he didn't even know where he's walking. By mistake, he walked on those clothes were drying, washed and drying. And now washermen become angry. He's making them dirty. Again, they have to be washed. There is a time to deliver and all that. Now they become very angry. And what they were doing is then they started pelting stones on this devotee of God. Then Vishnu sees everything. My devotee is being troubled by the people. So Vishnu ran from Lakshmi's place. Lakshmi says, "Where are you going? Why are you rushing?" He says, "Some emergency. My devotee is in trouble. Emergency." And he went just out and then immediately came in. So Lakshmi said, "What happened to emergency?" "Oh, I have to come back." "Then what happened?" "Oh, my devotee was being troubled by some people. They were pelting stones on him. Then why didn't you go to protect him? Oh, then I saw that my devotee himself now is taking the stone, took the stone and hitting back to them, to the people. So when he's taking care of himself, I don't have to take care. So when he didn't take care, and God would come to take care of him. So when he thinks that I have to take care, that ego is there, let him take care. I am not needed. You know that they say that Draupadi is that incident, Chiraharan. So there was so much thing they were doing, but Krishna didn't come. Krishna came at the end. When did Krishna come? When Draupadi said, Krishna, please protect me. When she cried to Krishna, then the Krishna came. So when you are totally devoted to God, then God comes to you and everything is set right. So one has to have that faith, in total faith in God, that He is there to take our care. So like that it says here, like the children. द्वावेव चिंतया मुक्तौ परमानंद आप्लुतौ यो विमुग्धो जड़ो बालो यो गुणेभ्य परम गत. Two people only are free from anxiety and immersed in supreme bliss. Only two types of persons are free from all anxiety and are full of joy, full of bliss. Who are they? The child that knows nothing and never works. That's what he said, vimugdho jado. Jado means inert, but here means who doesn't have to work for his livelihood. He just is. He doesn't worry for anything. There's someone else to take his care, the child. And he is vimugdha. He is happily, he doesn't, he knows nothing. The child knows nothing, nothing of the worldliness. So the child is very happy. He's fully immersed in bliss. And he doesn't have to have no anxiety. That is what the child. Who is another person, another type of person that is full of, free from anxiety and full of bliss. Another is the man who has realized the being above the gunas. One who has realized the Trigunatita, the God. One is always with God. He is also free from all anxiety and always immersed in bliss. God is that state. Whenever we connect with God, with the source, the mine of bliss. When we get connected to mine of bliss, that we also get that bliss. That's what happens when we think of God, when you repeat God's name. That is what the God is. So, and when we connect to God, all anxieties are also over. Anxieties come when we forget God. This is Rabindranath, that beautiful poem, Tomorrow Oshime. When I forget you, even the small difficulty seems to be a mountain of difficulty. And always fear of death comes. But when I think of you, O Lord, where is difficulty? Where is fear of death? Nothing is all vanishes. I am with you because Lord is all fulfillment. Lord is Purnam, Purnamada, Purnamidam. So when we think of God, all our miseries, anxieties, all vanish and we get connected to the bliss that is God. So that's what it says here. The second man is who has realized the being above the gunas, being beyond the gunas. Gunebhya param gata. That is God. Now the next, his teacher was uh, Kurara Arvaka. Arvaka means child. The next is Kumari Sharakrit Sarpa Urnanabhi Supesakrit. There are so many still. Kumari is the maiden, a girl, and Sharakrit means arrow maker. Shara means arrow, Krit means who makes arrow. Sarpa is snake, Urnanabhi is a spider, and Supesakrit and a particular insect known as Brahmarakita. That's called Shupesakrit. So still so many teachers are left of his 24 teachers. We are all studying teachers one after another, not finishing so many days. More than 24 days finished and we have not yet finished all the 24 teachers that changed the life of this Avadhuta. So what did he learn from a maiden? From a girl. So what did he learn? क्वचित् कुमारी त्वात्मानं व्रीणानान् गृहमागतान् स्वयं तानर्हयामास क्वापि यातेषु बन्धुषु. Once upon a time, a maiden, in the absence of her relatives elsewhere, herself had to receive a party who came to her house to ask her in marriage. Now, person have come to her house and want her in marriage. Generally, what happens? Parents are there. They talk with the other family. Now she is alone. She knows. Now nobody is there, and respectable guests have come for some that purpose. They are very respectable. They have to be treated well, and you don't want to reveal to the people who want you to marry whatever you are. You want to show best of your side. Hmm? Best face, best things that you have. You don't want to show anything that you lack in money or wealth, anything. So this was the problem. Now, who will make her fit to approach and go that? And there was the problem. They were not really rich people, so they didn't want to show her poverty. So what happened? How much poor they were? There was no rice there left. Now there was paddy, but that paddy has to be husked to make rice. Nobody was there. She has to go and do that thing. What if she goes to make the rice from the paddy? People will think, oh, they don't have even restored rice, so they are very poor. Perhaps they will not proceed for the marriage talk. Will not proceed. So it was a big problem for her. So what happens? Let's see this. तेषाम् अभ्यवहारार्थं शालीन रहसि पार्थव अवग्नन्त्या प्रकोष्ठस्थाश्चक्ru शंखा स्वनम महत्. As she was husking paddy for their meal in a retired corner. Now you have to take good care of those people. Now we have come to see a girl. So she has to do, now she has to make the rice from the paddy in the husking machine, a dheki. We know husking machine used to be there, and in the gospel it comes the husking machine story. Now she goes there. As she was now as she was husking paddy for their meal in a retired corner, in a corner there was a husking machine. O king, this Avadhuta is telling this story to Yadu, the ancestor of Krishna. O king, the conch bracelets in her wrist made a great noise. Now, while you press the husking machine, then body shakes, and her hands have full of bracelets made of conch. Shankha, we call no Shankha. You see, that's a very ancient ornament of Hindus. So, you see a lot of Shankha, and they started making noise. When noise is made, though little far away from their house, little far away, just adjacent, then people will know some why there's so much noise. Oh, maybe she has gone to make some paddy. So she doesn't want sound to come there, that she's working something. So she has to show that everything is fine. They have a lot of rice grain, lot of wealth, lot that she has to show the face. And yet she has to entertain the person that everything had finished and she has to make fresh rice from paddy. That is not very mm, desirable thing for that girl. Then what she does? सा तज्जुगुप्सितं मत्वा महती व्रीडिता ततः बभञ्जै कैकसः शङ्खान् द्वौ द्वौ पाण्यो रसेशयत्. The intelligent girl, she is intelligent, huh? How to make this noise less. Huh? Noise control, I mean, noise cancelling. So you have to cancel the noise. Now, how to do the noise cancelling? The intelligent girl, considering this as disgraceful, people hear that I'm going to make rice and there was nothing left in house, it will be disgraceful, was ashamed and broke the bracelets one by one, till only two were left in each arm. So she removed, she was difficult to time was removing, she broke away. That means that many bracelets she wanted to make less so that there is no sound coming of the bracelets going to their house. She will do it quietly. She will make some rice. Rice means not cooking rice. She from paddy being husked to make the rice grain. So only all she took it away, either broke or took it off, and then only two in each arm were there. Now she is doing that. उभयोरप्य भूतघोषो ह्यवग्नन्त्या स्म शङ्खयोः तत्राप्येकं निरभिदद् एकस्मान्ना भवध्वनिः. As she went on husking, even those two bracelets produced a sound. So she removed one of these also. From the single bracelet, there was no more sound. That was the lesson he got from this girl, maiden. Not that anything else, but maidens. What she did to reduce the sound, make it noise cancelling technique. You see, she removed the bracelets and left at last only one in each arm, one each arm, and then there was no sound. When there is one, there is no sound. We also say, no, one is lonely, two is companion, three is crowd. That's how we say. That too many people, they make a lot of noise. So to be peaceful, one is wonderful. Sometimes two is good, but two also may create problem. If they make sound, that is problem. It's better to be alone and peaceful than to be two and making lot of creating sound, noise. So two may create noise. One is no, this silence is one is no noise. That's what he said. Now he will praise the aloneness. That's what. Uh, After that, the thing happens, if it's a rise and of whatever happens. But the rishi that Avadhuta learned from this girl that one will not make noise, two may make noise, many will definitely make noise, and noise is not desirable all the time. That time, noise was not desirable, not wanted. So, Anvashikshamimam tasya upadesham marindama lokananacharan netan Lokattattvavivitsaya, roaming over the world with a view to know the ways of men, men means men and women. I learned this lesson from her, O queller of foes. Means Arindama, who queller means who puts down. What he puts down? Ari. Arindama comes from Damana, means quelling down, conquering. Whom? Ari means enemies. Who conquers enemies is called Arindam. We often say the name Arindam. It means he conquers, he quells down, he quietens the enemies. Arindama. So, O king, so I learned from this maiden how, and I was searching the lessons, roaming over the world with a view to know the ways of men, how people live. He was a very keen-sighted person, as we find in Sri Ramakrishna's life, how he observes the things in the world. Like that, this Avadhuta was also a very keen observer, and he also found spiritual message in the incidents of the world, and how he made everything spiritual. If you want to practice spirituality, you have to do it alone. That's what he says. If you are two, sometimes it may be well, you can do that. But it may be disturbing. One may like, one may not like. Often it happens that. And when always you cannot be two, one, then what we need to do? We need to be in the shrine and be alone and do according to your own way you worship. So that is the time they say the spiritual practice upasana is the time when we are connected with God. No one else should interfere. You and God, only these two should be together. So for that, you should be away from the company of the people. And that is what is being that. So here he learns that being alone is the way to find the solution for the problems of life. See, the maiden had the problem in her life. So how when she made her bracelet only single, then all problems were removed. She could quietly make the rice grain and cook that. So that's what this learned. So Arindam, whom the Avadhuta said Arindama, he said Arindam to the king Yadu. He's talking with Yadu. And what Yadu and this Brahmana talked long back in the ancestry of Krishna, Yaduvamshi Krishna, so many generations ago. Now this Krishna is telling this story to Uddhava. Krishna is telling this story. What are the conversation between the Yadu and this Avadhuta? Krishna is telling this story. All the thing that Avadhuta told to Yadu, and Yadu was a very noble king, and he was also interested in spirituality. That's why he listened to all this story. Hmm? So all this story from Avadhuta is also listening with full attention, because all had a spiritual message. Because he inquired, what is it that makes you so happy in this world? And you seem to be so carefree, no anxiety, and you had everything. You had well built body, a very handsome looking person. It how you couldn't be caught in the snares of this worldliness? How you could be free? Then he said that how he is above this the um, pankaja, that above this mud of this worldliness. He was not caught in the mud of worldliness because of messages that he got from the different beings, different animals, birds, and the different situations that he observed. This keen observation and ability to transform that observation into spiritual teachings, that was very much in that special quality of that Avadhuta. And he gave up life and led life of renunciation, and that's what he expresses that to the king. So, how does it help in Bhagavatam? Bhagavatam no, it's all done, I think. Bhagavatam is the story. Uh, it's okay. So, a story that love of God, and it's meant for the Krishna's story. And there are many stories meant not only for monks; it is meant for all people, householders, monks, everyone. So, but the story of these monks often give us the example of the ideal, what the ideal life should be to the householder. Maybe householders cannot attain to that state, we cannot reach that state, but they at least know what the ideal is, what is meant by detachment, what is meant by not being engrossed in the thing. How can one keep oneself aloof from the snares of this the worldliness? This just knowing this, intellectually knowing this, that helps at the time. When time comes, through intellect also it helps. In when we are too much engrossed and there is suffering, then we remember, oh, that person was that done, he did that this way. So way is not to get not entangled in the worldliness, so that detachment comes, though performing the work, being in the world, but the detachment may come by reading and studying these examples of the monks. That's why the story of, though Sri Krishna is saying this to Uddhava, who was like a monk, who was a great jnani, but it is contained in the Bhagavata, which is meant for all people. Bhagavatam is not something like Kaupina Panchakam, which is meant only for glorification of the sannyasis. It is meant for whole humanity. Gita is made for whole humanity. It's not for only monks. Like Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Surprisingly, you will find in the Gospel, Sri Ramakrishna is talking about how the householder should lead the life, how much should be detachment, like the maid servant in a rich man's house. And then suddenly he said, this is the ideal of sannyasin. Sannyasin should do this. He puts the highest ideal of sannyasin, and he's describing that to Yam and other householder people. They are not sannyasins, but those ideals we have to know what are the highest ideals, so that it makes us that is the ideal, that is the height. We may not go there, but we understand that is the ideal for to become a totally absorbed in the thought of God, totally to immerse in God. Like that ideal, we can know that. That's what Sri Ramakrishna often gives the reference of ideal of a sannyasi. But sannyasi would not do this, sannyasi would not touch money. Like that thing, he will say many things. To the householder, he's saying that, not to the sannyasi. There was no need, but there is need to know about the um, highest of this spiritual life, ultimate height of spiritual life. To at least to know, it helps us, all of us, in our spiritual progress. Thank you very much. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः. Good night to everyone. We'll meet again next Friday in the scripture class, and next Friday would be Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna.